Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. I shall see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today. Recording at a reasonable hour this time. Oh my gosh. Dear Darling, what is happening? I'm recording now mainly because I'm sort of deliberating my head. I need to do a catch-up stream because I was very busy for the latter half of August. I'm basically down one stream in August. I knew I should have done a double drawing section in the last stream, but whatever. Here we are. If anything, it's more excuse to play blueprints, so we'll see. Hello everyone, right now in Fawnhallow it's 12:26 PM on Saturday, September 6th, 2025. I never even finished that sentence, but the thing is, I was like, okay, I think that maybe I could do a stream today and tomorrow. That might be a bit much, so I think if I do that, I will be quite strict with a 3-hour sort of limit, quote, on the stream. Because I mean that's a lot to stream in 2 days, 6 hours, but I'm also like, why not, you know, at the same time. I know it's like we're well into September now, so you know the fact it's still an August stream is a bit much, but that's just, you know, how the cookie crumbles a lot of the time when it comes to, well, being busy, to be honest. But, I mean, I think I've said before, I don't think I'm busy throughout any weekend on this September. Or at least not on both Saturdays and Sundays in September. I don't think so, at the very least. Hold on, this is something which I'm setting a reminder for myself, but if I stream, I can't do that in the middle of a stream, so I need to actually move this reminder to later on in the day. I think 7 PM will probably be okay. Yes, okay. The only thing I'm doing, which I spoke a little bit about previously, I think, was, I'll be having like a birthday activity, quote, which I now know what it is. I don't know if that's a full extent of it or what else may be included, but that will be soon to be found out and I'll update you then. What can we talk about today? But have I actually spoken about Wingspan? Yeah. I actually don't remember if I have. Let's see. Wingspan. Wormspan? It doesn't look like I have. I spoke about it a bit in the optimization. Oh no, yeah, optimization self goals. I guess I did speak about it in there then. I'm trying to think what else I haven't spoken about. I'm just remembering now because we were playing some other board games in the holiday. And there's one we called like Bonanza, or like Beananza, I suppose it technically should be, but it was like German. It was actually kind of interesting, I would say. Basically how you play is there's a certain amount of copies of certain beans in a deck, and basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to accrue large groups of the same type of bean. That's basically kind of the gist of it, but there's really is... the way you acquire the beans is there's a lot of trading, and there's a lot of, in the game, you are forced to play, like, plant a bean, and you only have 2 plots to which... you only have 2 slots of which we can accrue the same type of bean in. So there's a lot of times where you have to sort of, like, upend your plans, or tactically upend your plans, and, you know, continue collecting a different type. But there's one type of bean in it called, I think it was a cocoa bean, where there's only 4 types, and this deck had like 100 cards or something in it. Probably more than 100 cards now I think about it. And the cocoa bean was like the rarest one, there was only 4, but like, if you got all 4, you would get 4 coins, which was a lot. Like 4 points, which is a lot for that sort of thing. And I basically just made it my goal in the first round to be like, alright, I'm gonna try and get all 4 cocoa beans. Is it efficient? Absolutely not. But I've said before, you know, in the optimization self goals, I can see the title over here, that I tend to send my own sort of challenges in a board game. You know, like I will earnestly engage with the board game to begin with, you know, like play with mechanics, etc, etc. I'm not gonna like try and throw the game or anything, but as soon as I find like a side quest or something which seems more interesting to me, then that's basically, I'm like, I want to try and tackle that side quest instead. So when I saw there was a cocoa bean thing, I was like, this would be legendary. Well, not legendary, let's not be that grandiose. It'd be cool if I pulled it off. So I was like, let's do it, let's send it, let's try and get cocoa bean. And then I didn't get to do it either time, to be honest. I think I got it three of the copies on the first time we played, and then I got 0 of the copies the next time. Well, it's basically the only thing I wanted to do, so Oh, so the birthday cupcake, yes, it doesn't matter about giving it past the birth date. It has to be on the birthday or past it, or the day after, it seems. But yeah, we also played, I can't remember what the other game was called. It was like, in my mind it was like Deep Space, but I'm pretty sure that's not correct. But it's basically where you have like a limited oxygen supply shared between everyone, and it's basically a game of chicken, is how I describe it. Is you have to dive down deeper and then you use oxygen to try and come back up, and it's basically just having the correct timing to go in and then come out to actually extract your treasure, because if you don't make it out, you lose your treasure essentially. So I described it as, oh, it's basically chicken in the board game. And yeah, which, you know, definitely should have been a game for the strategy, because there's a thing where you can like sacrifice using oxygen to boost, to give yourself a bigger boost, and then there's times that you don't want to do that. But I think I just basically stuck by the strategy of just boosting every turn because I thought it'd be really funny. But that one, okay, to be fair, I less earnestly engaged with the actual mechanics of it. Well, I mean, it's not like I less earnestly. Well, okay, definitely less earnestly than Bonanza or some of the other games. But basically the way I engage with it would be like, it would be very interesting, I think, you know. Obviously, the strategy is you don't boost unless you need to, you know, it's like in your best interest, and then you want to be the first person to start boosting because you want to be the first person to basically... it's basically like you're all working collaboratively, but you want to be the first person to betray everyone, essentially. That's kind of like how it goes. Because then if you're the first one to betray, you can take advantage of everything earlier. But like we all just started boosting immediately from the get-go. Like, I think in most of the rounds, people drowned because they ran out of oxygen to make it back, which I found very funny. Because when I saw that it was like a shared oxygen pool, I was like, well, I think it would be very interesting if I basically forced everyone into having it be like, oh, I am going to basically run down the clock. Like, this is a ticking timer, and there's only like so long, I suppose, you have until your time runs out, essentially. But yeah, that's kind of it, I suppose. I can't remember what that game was called. Let's see. Board game Submarine Oxygen Dive. Oh, it's Deep Sea Adventure. Okay. Yeah, Deep Space, now I think about it, makes no sense because it does take place in the ocean, not in space. Part of me is curious about what you... Like, I mean, we had the discussion afterwards because, like, the thing we said was, like, it's a game theory sort of thing. As soon as one person starts boosting, then it's like, well, you're kind of... Not encouraged necessarily, but... I mean, encourage is actually the word I want. You're encouraged to also boost as well, because that's sort of like the go time trigger to be like, oh, you know, if you're not the one boosting, then you're the one not being taking advantage of the resources which everyone else is depleting. That's kind of like the vibe of it. Well, that's kind of like my understanding of it. But as basically, since we started boosting straight off from the beginning, it basically means that, oh yeah, people are like... we're using the resources straight off the bat, and because there was 6 of us playing, it meant that, yeah, very quickly we deplete the oxygen supply far faster than you're meant to. Which did make me think, I'm just like, I wonder if there should be more oxygen supply if you had more players or something, like it should be a variable amount, I don't know. What's, like, I'm not going to pretend I should be diving into the board game design of it after playing it like twice or something. But it definitely does give it an interesting sort of twist on the game, I suppose, in that sense. I was also thinking about this because I was thinking about One Night Ultimate Werewolf and the fact that when we play and our friends, and there was also, you know, I talk about I'm watching some other Smosh videos now because I think it's fun. I like seeing what different board games they're playing, and honestly they've got quite sort of fun vibes. I think it's sort of also fulfilling because Dropout is, I like Dropout a lot, but Dropout, you know, have not as frequent uploads, I think. Well, it's more like they do have a lot of uploads, but Smosh, you know, has like an entire like 6 years or something, or backlog or whatever. But I'm mostly interested in the Board AF series because I just like seeing the board games they have, to be honest. Because again, I just like thinking about board games. But I was thinking about the fact that when they play One Night Ultimate Werewolf, a lot of them are genuinely very, very honest. Like, the only people who ever lie are the werewolves. or anything like that. And I was reflecting on when me and my friend circle used to play One Night Ultimate Werewolf. We haven't played really for ages now. And how the meta developed there, because the meta developed when we played very, very quickly to everyone basically lies to try and catch each other out in that sort of thing. Because I can't remember, or in one of the games, did I do it? I don't know. I'll pretend I did it just to claim credit. No, I'm joking. But someone, maybe it was me, maybe it was someone else. I actually genuinely do think it was me. I think I pretended to be a class I was not while I was on the villager team to try and see if anyone else I can't remember exactly what I did, but it was something like it was a seer, and then I was like, oh, I saw these two roles in the middle, and then I was seeing like who would like counterclaim and who would not, because then I was like, if you counterclaim, then I'm gonna assume you are that role. So I think it was like someone was like, oh yeah, I saw a troublemaker and Robert in the middle, and then two people were like, no, you didn't. And I was like, okay, fantastic, now we know who you are. Who did you swap? I can't remember, because it was very important that I knew who they were swapped on. I don't know. I might be making this up. This might be a false memory. I don't know if that was the original part of the game, but I do remember at least doing something like that. Which eventually turned into very, very quickly that everyone basically claimed a false role to begin with. Like, everyone claimed troublemaker, everyone claimed witch. Mainly because I think it helped in the sense, especially the evil team, because when everyone is very, very honest, it's very difficult, I think, in the evil team. But when you have this sort of precedent where, yeah, the good team can lie as well, you know, to try and get more information. It's basically like everyone sort of plays selfishly because not everyone knows whose side they're on to begin with. That's probably the way I'd put it, and it sows a bit more confusion, and then it becomes much more of a social aspect where you have to determine, you have to believe yourself who you think is telling the truth and who you think is lying. So it very much surprised me when I watched the Smosh cast sort of play, and they're genuinely very, very honest, like all the way through, apart from if they know they're a werewolf and they start lying, which is like, whoa, this is like so different from how we play. Because how we play is basically a huge puzzle where like everyone says like 3 different statements, one is true, the other 2 are false, and you have to basically pick out what the correct statements are. Which has led to a lot of crazy tactics, I think, like a really like huge amount of really fun, strange, wild tactics that people have done. Of course, I do remember ones that I've done. Like, no, actually, there's another one. Like, I remember when my friend started claiming that he was a werewolf straight off a bat, which was really interesting because it was basically like, well, we want to say you're Tanner, but what if you're not Tanner? You're like psyching us out. It was basically like he was nullifying all the information whatsoever that he could provide. I think there was another one I did where I was basically like, I took a swing being like, I'm pretty sure we have a lot of werewolves here. And I was like, I think we have a majority. So, and then we did have a majority, which was very lucky. It was a very risky move, but it was also, we played it a lot. So like throwing away one round to try a risky strategy is kind of like fun, right? So it's really interesting to see how different people play the same sort of game. It also reminds me of another time where we played the Jackbox game, Push the Button or something. And we played with basically like a different, like a friend of a friend who they played like, or they were like housemates or something where they played like a lot. And I remember like, I honestly answered a question like very earnestly. And then I got accused of being like a liar because it was like a very genuine thing. It was like, I remember it was like, what is your favorite photo you've taken? And I said like a selfie with all my friends or something. I couldn't remember a specific one, but you know, the general premise is there. And then she thought I was lying because she was like, that's such like, why would you say that as an answer? And I was like, no, that's just genuinely like what I would think. The funny part was I was a traitor, but there's a mechanic in the game where you can see the real answer, the real question. So I disguised myself very quick, very easily. So it's really interesting having not only like learning a new board game, but playing a new board game with another person who's also played a decent amount of that board game, but with a completely different circle or group. Because that basically means, oh yeah, you know, you've got a different experience. You've got different mindsets when it comes to actually playing the game, you know. And you have a different meta sort of built up from your friends, and like how does that work when the two can collide? Like I'm trying to say this in a way which is not parasocial, because I'm I fully acknowledge I have no idea about the Smoshcast or anything, but I love the concept of it in a conceptual thing of like, actually, let's not even say the Smoshcast, because our group is full of liars, I suppose, when it comes to One Night Ultimate Werewolf, but imagining another group who are full of people who basically tell the truth almost all the time with One Night Ultimate Werewolf, except for the werewolves. Imagining taking one from one group and putting them in the other. Like, I think going from our group into a truth-telling group would just sow so much discord. Like, it would take the first round, and then they'd be like, well, you're like clearly a werewolf. Why would you lie about your role on villager team? And then we'd be like, what are you talking about? And then they'd be voted off, and it would basically burn that round. But then it's like, it's introducing the seeds of doubt, the possibilities which could come up, you know? That's a part which I find so fascinating. Which I guess is just psychology at the end of the day. I wonder if there is a sort of study based around that, you know? I don't even know what you could necessarily study about that, but I feel like there's potential there to just be like, oh, you know, what are the sort of end results of having a thing manifest in one way or another, you know? Based on the personality of like your friend group or something, or the way the board game is played, or the way the meta elements develop. I mean, I guess it happens in video games quite a lot, like League of Legends, like there's a meta in like, the Asian meta is very different from the European meta, from the North American meta, stuff like that. Because they tend to play against each other, and then what tends to be strong there is kind of what tends to sort of develop as the established way of playing. I don't even know what symbol to draw for this, for the thumbnail art, to be honest. I'm going to draw like puzzle pieces fitting together, because I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, when you see them like collide in global events, it's very interesting. Because I remember back in season 3 when I watched, and it was like the Chinese meta was like super hyper aggressive or something. Well, I think the European meta was like really slow. And then seeing them sort of like collide made for very interesting matches, which you wouldn't get individually, you know? That's what's so fascinating. Anyway, on that note, I guess I'll sort of round this episode off here. Oh, you know what I was going to say? I should have said at the beginning, Uma Musume. How's that going? That's a like the gacha game I'm mainly playing at the moment, because I'm trying to get ready for the Gemini Cup. I will say it's insanely hard, I think, to build a good Uma for this rotation. Like, it's so hard getting near 1200 speed and 1000 stamina and 3 gold recovery skills, and then also trying to keep the other stats reasonable. So I'm like, I think I need better grandparent legacies, which is a crazy thing to say, because they're all 1-star blue sparks. I'm like, I'm missing out on stats from that. So I don't know, but I'm like, also there's not a lot of time. So I've made a ace, I suppose, with Gold Ship and Naruto Taishin, but they're really not that good. So I don't even think I'll make it to the A finals this time. But I will try. Who knows? Anyway, on that note, I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.